had moved to Massachusetts when I was 10. And so the rest of my teenage years were in suburban Boston. I went to Princeton as an undergraduate. I'm exactly the age where when I got out of college, my choices were go to Vietnam, go to Canada, go to jail, or go to graduate school.
Let me go back and move over to just teach my family, parents, what kind of things that they do.
My dad is an engineer. My mother was a school teacher.
Where'd your father work?
He worked for General Electric for a while, and then my mother wanted to live in New Hampshire. And so they moved to New Hampshire where, in the 40s, there were essentially no engineering jobs. So he became a foreman at a fiberboard factory. And until my mother passed away, and then that was the reason to move to Massachusetts. And my father joined Western Electric.
So that's your engineering career at that time.
Well, he obviously made more money as an engineer than the foreman is a lot harder in a dying mill.
You went to public schools in the Boston area. What suburb were you in?
So we lived in a town called Newbury, which is right next to Newburyport. And my father chose that town deliberately because at the time they did not have a high school and would pay the tuition for, the town would pay the tuition for anyone who could get accepted at Governor Dummer Academy, which happens to be within the town boundaries. And Governor Dummer Academy, it's in the same general league as St. Mark's and Milton Academy and Barnes and Noble, those kind of places. So both my brothers and I got to go to Governor Dummer as day students with tuition paid by the town, which would not have been financially possible otherwise.
So you're very true on your part.
Yeah.
So is there a subject you're interested in when you're going to school?
Well, and my SAT sort of say it all. I had an 800 on the math SAT and a 600 on the verbal SAT, so it was obvious what I was good at.
Was engineering of interest? Did you do special projects and things while you were in high school? A number of you testing out science and things, any of those kinds of programs?
This was in the 50s. I'm not aware of it. Let's say that the level of activity available in the school system now is much better than 60 years ago.
What particular subjects were you science subjects you liked the most?
Well, I mean, the Governor Dummer had, was a traditional, boarding school in the English style tradition, so there really wasn't any choices. Everybody took, Latin, math, physics, English, chemistry. So everybody took essentially the same curriculum.
Did you have any siblings?
I have two brothers.
And was anything going the same program that you went through? The older, younger?
The middle of three brothers.
This proves all kinds of things about the older, younger, so forth. Sports, any other activities while you were there?
Well, there were compulsory athletics at Governor Dummer. So I played soccer, I played basketball, I played golf.
Strong interest for just things you did?
I think I did.
So it's a Princeton. Why?
Stupid move. The reasoning at the time was that, I realized I was obviously good at math, physics, chemistry. I couldn't have done anything in the sciences. It was probably my father's influence to say, if you become an engineer, you have better job prospects. This is absolutely true. And so I wanted an engineering school that was in a liberal arts school, so that it wasn't just a bunch of geeks. I wanted to be far enough away from home so my parents couldn't come visit, and I could go any place I wanted to. So I was a good enough student. And Princeton, fulfilled those characteristics.
And having gone to a private school academy, was that a business to you getting into Princeton?
Of course. Let's say Governor Dummer was an all-male school. Princeton at the time was an all-male school. So my social life definitely suffered. And I'm sure I would have been better off at school at Stanford.
Did you consider going that far away? Technology, was there any specific issues that were determined where you were? Because Princeton was a pretty expensive school at that point. Just the way times were down.
Well, it turns out my grandmother had left a trust fund that basically paid college tuition for both my brothers and I. So
that was a free choice. You had a choice.
I could have gone anywhere.
And your father, where did he go to college?
He went to Michigan State.
Okay. Talk about your work at Princeton, what you did.
So I was an electrical engineer, and I was a typical college student. We worked hard for us on weekends. So I went on long road trips in search of women.
Was there fraternities there at Princeton?
At Princeton, there are no fraternities. There are what are called eating clubs, which are sort of local fraternities that essentially everyone joins. So I joined an eating club.
Did that provide you with lifetime friendships for people that you would continue to be in contact with?
Yeah.
You're still in the field here, or you're unrelated to me?
I'm unrelated. So I have friends I stay in touch with from Princeton, but no one is an engineer.
Were you involved in sports or any other activities? You were pretty much...
I wasn't good enough to be on the eating clubs had intramural sports. I played basketball and golf intramurally, but I wasn't even good enough to.
You were tall enough for that time period,
but I wasn't very well coordinated.
Again, you said you had double E's. Did you take any significant other courses? Have you taken computer courses during that period of time?
Well, this was at the beginning of the computer era, so there were no the only computer courses that were there were no computer courses in 1961, and so the university had just gotten 1794 or 1790, something like that. And so we started to do programming. But this was well before we ran your computer science department.
Did you use Fortran? Do you remember at that time?
Of course. That was programming. That was all it was.
Did you have a particular interest in the computer side of it, or were you still looking to be double E?
Well,
you got a degree in it, but you looking to do that kind of work.
It was pretty obvious that to anybody who thought about it. So in 1965, I say there were no computer classes at Princeton at the time, and so but it was real clear that computers were going to take over, essentially everything, and that as has happened, computers are incredibly important in all other engineering disciplines. So it's clear that the future was in computing, and but I say there were essentially no computer science departments.
Let me go a different direction. You graduated in 61. What did you do exactly?
I graduated in 61.
Oh, then I had the wrong date on my thing. You graduated in 65.
I graduated from Princeton in 65.
Okay, I had the wrong date. When you graduated, did you go directly to graduate school? You said you had some choices there.
My choices were jail, the Army, graduate school, or leave the country. And this was while the Vietnam War was in full swing. And the Vietnam War was on the nightly news, every night. And it was real clear that there's a real analogy between the situation in Iraq right now and the situation in Vietnam at the time. So I knew I didn't want to go to Vietnam, but this was the draft was still in effect, and the lottery had not yet come into existence. So any thinking person who could go to graduate school, that was a wise choice. And this was still in the days when the government was in their post-Sputnik. We've got to catch up in the sciences. So I had an NSF fellowship to attend graduate school. So basically, it was clear that I was going to sit out the war in graduate school. And so I went to grad school at the University of Michigan in electrical engineering.
Did you choose that because it was computer science work? Any relationship there?
No, I chose that because they gave me the best fellowship. I could have gone to Stanford, Berkeley, or MIT, or the University of Wisconsin.
Your work at Princeton did done very well. Yeah.
So I went to Michigan and joined the computer CIC program, Computer Information and Control Engineering, which was sort of a joint program in engineering that was sort of focused on computer science. There's also a computer science department in LNS in Michigan that has just been formed. He was in the computer science, he was in the LNS department. So Bernie Gallagher was there. And so I quickly realized that anyone could call themselves a computer scientist at that time. And so I just started taking computing courses and called myself a computer scientist. And you could still do that at the time.
You did not get a master's degree? Did you go directly to a PhD?
I have a master's degree.
You did a master's degree. You didn't show up on your thing there. So you got that probably, what, 67, 68, 66? 66. And that was a double E as well.
I was at CIC.
Were you teaching, working, what was part of the fellowship program? Did you have that sort of responsibility?
It was a free ride. So I didn't have to do anything.
Did you work with any of the professors particularly? Who was your teacher's advisor?
So anyway, I was a TA because I wanted to be. I did a bunch of research projects. My teacher's advisor was a guy named Mark Naylor.
J-Y-L-O-R?
Yeah. And he's a control theory guy.
And what was your thesis and what was your PhD?
My thesis has to do with Markov processes. And it's sort of, you can think of it as mathematical operations research. And I thought it was, at the time, I thought at the time, and I still think that most PhD theses are really a waste of time, and my thesis I thought was a waste of time.
So that was something that led to your follow-on work, or that was what I was driving at, that built towards something specific for you?
So I was in a situation where I couldn't, if I graduated and left graduate school, then I would get drafted. So I had every incentive to stay in graduate school until the Army didn't want me anymore, or until the war ended, whichever came first. And so basically, graduate school was not a time of great incentive to get out. So I graduated in 1971 when I was safely 26.
Was that the date? Excellent.
So and then I started looking for a job, and this was right at the time when the NSF had just started a program called RANN, Research Applied to the National Needs. And the idea was that you ought to be able to use technology to fight fire entire station and help improve the court system in public systems. And so since I had done a thesis that looked like operations research, and you could call yourself anything, I said, well, I do that stuff. So Berkeley hired me basically to do public systems, and the ECS department at Berkeley, they're run by, and continue to be run by very smart people who are very forward-looking. So they said this RAN stuff is probably going to go somewhere. We better get involved. And so I went to Berkeley in 1971 with the idea that I would work on public systems. And
So teaching was not a primary objective of yours at that point?
well, you have to.
But you didn't want to be a teacher per se. That was not your goal. That was not asking you.
Well, I think if you go into any named university, it's made crystal clear to you that you have 5 years to prove to get famous and get tenure or you get fired. And that's was as true in 71 as is true today at all the named universities.
So you think he's producing publishing?
Yes.
So other than how good a teacher you are, correct?
So at Berkeley at the time, and that continues to be true at Berkeley and essentially all other world-class universities, that you have to teach well enough not to be an embarrassment to the department. But there is no incentive to be an expert teacher. It doesn't have to be good tenure.
Were there particular courses that you were teaching in those first few years? Recall?
So I was supposed to do public systems, so I started teaching a course on simulation, and I taught introductory Fortran the first time it was offered, and I taught the course on operating systems. And I would say that what was motivating me at the time was within the first year it became crystal clear that public systems were really, really hard. So I did a project that actually was NSF sponsored to try and improve scheduling in the local court system in Berkeley. And it quickly became apparent that the data stunk, and that getting good data was a huge amount of work. It was also apparent that the court system was basically a political system, and there wasn't any way that it was going to run well because of the various factions. So it was pretty obvious that to get famous doing public systems was going to be really hard.
What was the county that you had?
That was in Elmview County.
So what you saw the need for the data, for the input and the handling of the data in order to do anything for these political overtones, you saw that being in the way of being successful?
Well, so the back in 71, there was most of the records in the court system were not computerized, and so you collected them and computerized them and realized that there were so many errors that it was hard to make any. It was hard to use them to do better scheduling. And then the other thing was it was clear that scheduling in the local court system was done so that the judges could have. So the first schedule to minimize wasted time for judges, only when the judges didn't care that you scheduled to minimize wasted time for prosecutors and so forth. And so the thought that you would make